Another thing is big data. Of course, the huge data companies and big techs that are coming, they are changing the rules very simply. They could be established anywhere in the world. They are very smart and they have huge impact globally on different types of service provider. For example, like Facebook, Meta, PayPal, Amazon, everyone is trying to provide kind of financial services already.
Yeah.
It means that if customer previously were looking for the service provider around his home or at least at home country, now it's fully independent because you will use something that will be in your phone.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who is the provider. The question is how it is easy to use. And this type of the impact creates the additional risk for financial stability.
Marine, great to meet you. Thank you for taking time to speak to us today.
Hello, thank you very much for inviting me and having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure having you here. So let's just start telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm from Bank of Latvia. I'm a head of Fintech Supervision Department. Mainly we're concentrating on the supervision and development of the fintech industry with a focusing on innovations, payment institutions, crowdfunding platforms and other fintech companies who are willing and newcomers to develop the fintech industry in Latvia. Another area of the responsibility is information security and information system security supervision and cyber risk security supervision across the Latvian financial market. And of course, I'm responsible for the RegTech and SupTech solution. That means our own financially innovative solution for the supervision process to make it more modern, more digital, and more efficient.
We'll be touching on some of those aspects in a moment. Just help me understand to begin with, what's the role of the Central Bank of Latvia when it comes to fintech?
Of course, first of all, it is a development issue because we want to see the financial market well developed. It should be ensured the customer protection, it should be ensured market integrity, and of course, the stability of the financial system. And when we're talking about the fintech, it is very important that we see that financial market is developed properly, that we have a good banking established, we have a capital markets, and we have a fintechs. So regarding the fintechs, there are huge opportunities for companies and for customers and for financial sectors in order to see new types of the business models, to see new types of the services and products that are offered to the customers. And of course, we need to supervise what types of new risks those business models are creating. So we are not only authorizing the companies and giving the permissions and licensing companies to work, but we also create the supervision, on-site supervision and off-site supervision. Another thing, we support the companies in the fintech area who just want to come and start the business to make the first steps in order to consult them in a proper way and to see what kind of new type of business models, what kind of regulation we can apply to this and that model and help them to find the best way how to be licensed. So this is a main role of that. Of course, there is different roles like financial and monitoring systems and different kind of other activities central banking is doing, including raising the financial literacy of the customers, because it is also quite important.
Right, and just you're talking about licensing procedures. It prompts me to think that there's been other countries like Lithuania and also the UK where the regulator has been very progressive in developing special licenses for challenger banks. Is there something similar in Latvia?
Well, Latvia, we have reviewed our licensing process during the last year, and what we understand that we have wanted to make this licensing process much more easier for the customers. Previously, maybe if you have followed the Latvian story, we're very concentrating how to get done the well job within the AML, and now what we see that the fully market is reconstructed and the repair works are finished, we are more focusing on the fintech area. And from the licensing perspective, we see that we want to see more new customers, we want to see more market participants, and we have created a new approach how we license companies. We have created the pre-licensing approach. What does it mean? It means that a company who are willing to get the license, they're coming to us, to regulatory, and we're together with our experts, they are getting through the documentation as initial stage. The company is having very good consultancy, high quality advices, And after the pre-licensing stage is over, it is much more easy for the company already to get well-prepared document and to apply for the license. And this licensing process is going very, very smoothly. Right. So we are very integrated in European financial markets. So having licensing in Latvia gives you the opportunity to work in any area across Europe. Okay. I think it's very beneficial, especially taking into account that we have other options. So we have very good tax system for the startups. We have a new option law for the shares, for the employees, and everything that created the ecosystem why Latvia could be the very good beginning, let's say, stage for any fintech, and they can scale the business model and go into work across Europe.
I realize that the speed of change is accelerating. There's a lot of innovation. There's digitalization. Things are changing very, very quickly in our industry. What are the main challenges that, as a regulator, you're facing in order to keep up with all the innovation that's happening?
Yeah, of course. We see that there are a lot of approaches to innovation, and we see that monitoring the innovation, we see that the company is starting to use more and more different kinds of financial technologies. We see a lot of impact from the cloud solutions. We see that artificial intelligence. We also see the usage of DLT. And in this sense, we see that two types of huge challenges are coming this year. First of all is DORA regulation. That means Digital Operational Resilience Act that creates special rules for the companies to follow the information security standards. And another thing is MiCA, that is marketing crypto assets. As you know, the crypto assets are developing quite fast. It is not regulated. We have no common regulation across Europe. However, some countries were introducing a time ago the regulation on national levels, but we need to have equal and common playground for all the companies who are working. So the MiCA is one of the challenges that is coming on the market, and we see that there are interest from the market participants, and of course there are type of the risks, type of the challenges, and a lot of implementation we need to do internally in regulator, and also to see how to help to protect the customers who are on the market, and how to help the customers to be regulated, and what does it mean, and how to establish this supervision in a proper way.
Right, and if we focus on MiCA, what do you think will be the impact of MiCA on the companies that are operating in the crypto space?
Of course, they will have to rethink and maybe restructure their way of thinking, because being a regulated company means absolutely different approach. And first of all, they will be able to implement all the KYC and AML requirements. So that was unregulated markets, they were treated absolutely differently. Now you will have the common structure, and of course the companies will be able to invest into technology, how to protect the customer, and how to use better transaction monitoring tools to reduce AML risk. They will be able to invest in the human resources, and they will be able also to invest into trainings. Second thing is the transparency. The transparency of who are the owners of the companies. You need to disclose the information. Disclose the information regarding your risk policy, about the owners, board members, how the decisions are made. It is a question of corporate governance. Because if we look to the previous cases that have been already known in the market, there were lack of or absence of even hygiene, I would say, from supervision part of the view, right? So another thing, there is technologies they're using. And of course, the technology should be supervised. So you will be able to be compliant with the information security standards. So what kind of outsourcing services are you using, how fast and how professionally you are doing your penetration tests, so how you treat third-party providers, and how you can cover those risks. Another thing for challenging for crypto asset service providers will be to ensure the customer segregation, customer segregation. It is very important, so the customer protection should be the first place. Yep. Absolutely. And of course the corporation, and they will be able to introduce also the reporting standards. The reporting, it is absolutely in Europe.
Right, okay, and I'd like to touch on the corporation part a little bit more in a minute. But first, I'd like to know, from a regulatory perspective, the Nordics and the Baltic seem to be really quite sophisticated, especially when we look at things like MiCA, which I know it's a pan-European one, but some of the Nordic markets have really taken that to heart and implemented it with a lot of stringent definition, let's say. Do you think that the way in which regulation is being developed in our region could act as a source of competitive advantage when it comes to attracting investment of companies that want to develop value propositions around the crypto space?
There is no similar answer on the question, right? Mm-hmm. So from one point of view, of course, those crypto service providers, they are creating new value proposition for the customers. Mm-hmm. The question is what we're talking about. Are we talking about the investing or are we talking about the gambling? It could be treated in a different way. Uh-huh. Of course, the new regulation, MiCA, applies that it will be a full legal playground where the companies will be able to develop different kind of business models. Mm-hmm. Actually, the companies providing custody services or digital wallets or stable coins or exchange transactions. For each type of the business activity, there will be applicable different types of the requirements, and mm-hmm. companies will be able to follow the requirements. And that's how, when the supervision is established, and risk-based approach is also applicable to the companies. That's how this new innovation came up. So, of course, the crypto area is always dependent on the technology from one side. From the other side, it brings new types of risks. Mm-hmm. And of course, the main focus will always be that even if you are working in this area, you have to think regarding the frauds, regarding the money laundering, and about the hacking. Mm-hmm. So even the new business models are developed. From the regulatory perspective, we are looking at what kind of risk we want to identify and cover in order to make the customer more protected. So the different kind of business models, somewhere the risk is lower, somewhere the risk is higher. The higher is the risk, the higher is standards applicable from MiCA to the business service providers.
Okay, and so that's on the MiCA side. Can you tell us a little bit more about DORA and what will be the implication for fintechs once DORA gets rolled out?
Yeah, the DORA is a very broad document that will cover all the European financial service providers. It doesn't matter in which areas they are working. Mm-hmm. It will also be covered to applicable for payment institutions, for banking, for crowdfunding platforms, for crypto as a service providers. So DORA is a new type of regulation that will cover information security risk management. Mm-hmm. It means that it will be common standard for incident reporting and how the companies will treat incidents. Mm-hmm. How they establish the overall information security governance, how the functions are segregated, how the functions are divided within a company. It is very, very important to see how resources are allocated, are enough resources allocated in this area. Of course, the DORA establishing a new way how the regulator will be supervising outsourcing and third-party providers. Mm-hmm. Because as you know, there is a lot of trends around in a different kind of financial institutions that are starting to use third-party providers. And the risk is located there also because they are a part of the product chain that creates the value proposition for the customer in the end. And the DORA will be able to identify and gives better framework how the third-party providers' risk and outsourcing should be monitored. Mm-hmm. Another thing will be much more high standard for penetration tests. So penetration tests meaning that each company have to have their own program, how they have to protect the cybersecurity from cyber risk attacks, because hacking and such type of risks for financial sector still is in a very high risk at the moment.
I think there's a notion that regulators always have to balance the level of regulation to ensure that there's enough security around the user and at the same time to give companies the freedom to explore technologies.
Absolutely.
What's the main challenges that you find as a regulator in ensuring that balance is not stifling innovation within your ecosystem? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's a good question. Actually, I think the main here is that a regulator should be, and we are technology neutral. It means that it doesn't matter what kind of technology the company is using. Mm-hmm. The question is how they comply with the regulatory in terms of business model and in terms of risk management. Mm-hmm. That is a main point. Another thing, how to work with innovation. For regulatory, for example, also what we are doing, we have established the regulatory sandbox, and we have established the Innovation Hub. Innovation Hub is a place where companies, fintech companies, And regulatory experts are coming together and they learn and see what is happening on the market, what kind of new innovations are here coming, what kind of new risks are coming, what is the benefits for the customers. And we together are like developing the industry and boosting and forcing this innovation within the innovation hub. And the companies are giving the advice. So that is one of the supporting mechanisms. And also another one is the sandbox, when the companies can come and test their solutions. Are those solutions or innovative product or innovative way of working or innovative business model is in compliance or is not in compliance with kind of existing regulation? And this environment gives the companies the possibility to try to test a new business product before they are starting to scale it in the market. This is a very good. Another thing, of course, is the regular communication with the industry. We have established very good communication with associations, and we are reachable for our market participant on daily basis. And I think it is very important to be inside. And of course, another thing, we are looking and we are still a part of all European communications with the other NCAs, national authorities, and we see what kind of innovation are coming there, and we ensure this information exchange. So we are very open as a regulatory, and we are also developing innovation by ourselves. For example, internally, we have innovation lab that creates and learns, and we are experimenting with a different type of technologies in order to make our supervision process more smooth and more efficient. So we have tried different kind of approaches, and one of the pilot projects that has been developed was concerning the cloud technology, and now we understand that the cloud is one of our strategic way to go, and we are currently going to the cloud. So there is we are learning by ourselves, we are experimenting by ourselves, and we're controlling the companies. So we are more integrated and see what kind of innovations are in the market, and keep in touch how the customer is protected and how the innovation, what kind of value this innovation can bring.
Right. So if I understand you correctly, this is not so much a reactive position where whenever a technology comes in and starts becoming broadly used, then you jump in to say, we need to make sure that this is being done, but you're actually innovating yourself to keep up with what's happening in the market. All right. And one thing that we've seen in other ecosystems is that ecosystems that are thriving, they're blooming very nicely, have a very close integration between all actors, between academia, between the regulator, between the startup community, between the incumbent. Now, what is the regulator in Latvia doing to make Latvia's ecosystem attractive to foreign investment and foreign companies that want to come and establish themselves here?
Well, here I want to mention one very important issue. So, in the very beginning of this year, a Latvian fintech strategy had been approved, and this Latvian fintech strategy is exactly based on 4 main pillars. And one of the pillars is, of course, the regulation. We have to provide the efficient regulations that ensures the innovations and gives the fintech to grow. Another pillar in access to equity. So we are also developing the capital markets. So the access to equity gives the companies the opportunity to attract the money and to be scalable. Another one is education. And of course, education and talent. I mean, any company that is coming to work at Latvia or any who is starting to develop here, I mean, local companies, they have to ensure that they have access to the talents. And of course, this integration between academias, because regulators should be much more higher performed and distributed around the industry. And fourth pillars also were the access to the infrastructure. And those 4 pillars creating the Latvian fintech ecosystem. Currently, there are 100 plus something companies are working in the fintech environment, but we see that it should be better cooperation also with the academias and with the venture capital in order to attract more equity in the industry and in order to get the equity from abroad. In this time, we're starting to cooperate with LIA, that is Latvian Investment Agency, with whom we're also creating several types of events for the fintechs, and we're understanding now what kinds of requirements the industry has. And we're involving also in dialogue the institutions, like we have a fintech association, we have blockchain association, we have association for payment providers. And everyone in this system creates this ecosystem.
Yeah. All right. And you must be fully informed of what are the innovations that are coming up in the fintech ecosystem within Latvia. Is there anything that you're particularly excited about?
Well, I'm actually excited that there are a lot of companies are even not waiting for expectation and any support from the government are reaching a huge recognition already globally. So we have several companies who are working worldwide, not only in Europe, but across the globe. And of course, there may be some more significant part of the business is dedicated to lending, lending for the private investors, lending for private customers. And there are companies who are working in this area very, very actively. I mean, for example, one of the companies in Latvia that is investment platform, Mintos, maybe you have already heard. They are one of the largest investment company right now in Europe because they started to several years ago and they are covered already all the European customers. We have another companies who are working not only in Europe but also across globally in private person lending. They have different kind of branches across the globe, and I think that was like the very beneficial and very close to Latvian mentality when you see that like the door is closed, you open the window is closed, you open another thing, and you are not stopping. It is innovative and it is like internal engine inside the entrepreneurship that gives and creates these environments. Even do not expect some kind of support, financial support, or so. If you have an idea, you will always have another idea how to get money, where to get the people, and how to create your business model reachable, how to create the value, and how to scale it. And I think that is the different Latvian infrastructure from other.
I think that's really inspiring, and definitely other countries could learn from that mentality. Just to close, we also see that there's a number of technologies that are picking up a lot of momentum. We see AI, we see quantum finance coming up in the pipeline, perhaps a little bit further away. Is there anything from a regulatory perspective that you think, okay, well, this is something that we need to be keeping a close eye on, and that you think might become a challenge for the Bank of Latvia in, say, 3 to 5 years?
Absolutely. For example, as you mentioned, this artificial intelligence, everyone is now inspiring with the chatbots.
Yes.
As a result, how I started to search information. And I think, of course, machine learning and artificial intelligence is number one because it creates, from one point of view, huge opportunities for the businesses, huge opportunities for the customers and for the public. Sometimes it creates some types of new type of risks. How far we allow the artificial intelligence to make the decision behind the people, how far we will be able to go. On European level, it is also AI Act will be introduced that will manage, I don't want to say limit the innovation, but will manage how the AI should be applicable in the financial sector in order to give the opportunity for private individuals and for the customers to decide how far they want to go. So that is one. Another thing, of course, DLT technology. Of course, we are very, very, very cautious on what's happening on the crypto markets and how they are developed. And DLT technology creates a lot of good opportunities like transparency. It gives huge number of transparency. And visually, you can see many cases of different types of the transaction in much more visible way. However, still, this technology gives a concern as from part of use. It is always about money laundering, fraud, and hacking. So those cases on the market will appear. Cloud technology, as I mentioned, almost all the financial sector providers are using cloud technologies. So another thing that it should be supervised, it should be good quality framework, how we're following the risk and how the customer data protection and information of the customer and customer funds are protected. It is very important. Another thing is big data. Of course, the huge data companies and big techs that are coming, they are changing the rules very simply. They could be established anywhere in the world. They are very smart and they have huge impact globally on different types of service providers. For example, like Facebook, Meta, PayPal, Amazon, everyone is going trying to provide kind of financial services already.
Yeah.
It means that if customer previously were looking for the service provider around his home or at least at home country, now it's fully independent because you will use something that will be in your phone.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who is the provider. The question is how it is easy to use. And this type of the impact creates the additional risk for financial stability. Because the same stable coins, for example, also from one point of view, they are less volatile than other cryptocurrencies because they are sticked and lifted to the fiat currencies. From the other point, it is still money laundering questions. There is still kind of impact on the financial stability in the financial system. We need to always find this best balance between the innovation and technologies that we are using.
Yeah. Well, Marine, it's fascinating listening to you. Thank you so much for taking time to speak to us and for helping demystify the role of the regulator.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to meet you and pleasure to get here.
Likewise. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
We talk about the regulatory landscape at a European level, and we know that a lot of the regulations are basically being pushed to every single country in Europe. What would you say distinguishes the Latvian regulator from perhaps regulators in other countries?
Well, first of all, we are very flexible and we are very innovative inside. And another thing, what I want to underline, we have established this innovation hub and we have sandbox that is a perfect tool for the companies who want to come here. And another thing, our experts are reachable. You will not able to wait months in order to get to the call. You will not be able to get and to wait weeks in order we will answer the question, because every expert in payment area, in crowdfunding area, in fintech area, in information technology securities area, any expert is available in any day. You can call and you can get an advice. You will very quickly get the understanding and your we will cover your needs in a very quick manner. I think it is something that we're very different. And of course, we have ensured this pre-licensing process that creates a lot of added value to the customer before they're coming into licensing. We are communicated with our market participants on a daily basis. So it is very easy to get answers from us. And also one thing that we have created a special website for the fintechs, fintechlatvia.eu. Actually, where we accumulated a lot of information of the licensing process, how the regulatory sandbox is working, the major things regarding the crypto, the major thing about the payment, and how to get the advice from us in a quick way. So I think it is also a good instrument from the government side, how we are supporting the industry.
Right, so this openness, this willingness to communicate, and this being reachable, it's a trait of...
Yeah, we are reachable on a daily basis.
Great.